All right, welcoming to the CNO show right now, a Blink-182 fame, and has got a new show right now. Hoppus On Music airs on the Fuse Network. It's on pretty much all day long. Mark Hoppus, welcome to the CNO show.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
I'm gonna try hard not to go into fanboy mode here because
it's very difficult.
You're pretty much like a legend to me right now.
Thank you very much.
I know for a fact you've never been asked this before, so it's okay if it's okay with you. I'm gonna ask you a serious question to get things started. Is that all right?
Let's do it. Yeah.
All right. When's the next Blink-182 album coming out?
This summer.
All right. Perfect. All right. I got to be honest with you. I want to pay a little mind to the show real quick because the first time I watched your show, I got to be honest, I thought. Went into it thinking, this is like the equivalent of like a retired athlete getting into broadcasting, okay? He's going to disrespect it. He's not going to make it worth his time. Then I sat down and I watched an episode all the way through, and I said, Jesus Christ, this guy gets it, man. And how is it that you've been able to seamlessly make that transition? Because it's so hard to actually drive a show, and I think people disrespect it. You've done it so flawlessly.
Wow, thank you very much. That's a huge compliment. I don't know. I guess that, I love the show because I come from a band background, obviously, and I can talk to other musicians on their level, and I'm not trying to be anything that I'm not. I just get to be myself, which was a huge thing that Fuse has always said. Like, don't try and be a talk show host.
Right.
Don't try and be just go out there and be yourself, which is all I can do anyway. Mm-hmm. So it's fun for me because I get to go and talk to people that I respect and largely am interested in, and have a lot of fun doing it. And I get to curse on the show, and they just bleep it out, which is a huge deal for me.
Cursing is phenomenal.
You can do that here,
it's a good
too.
Time.
So I was very happy about that, and I'm glad that you think that it's a seamless transition. It seems it's a lot of work for me, for sure. I have to travel back and forth to New York and do prep and writers' meetings and all this kind of stuff, but the show itself is a lot of fun. The people that run it are great, and it's a really good environment to be creative in.
Did you know that you wanted to host your own show, or is this something that sort of just fell into your lap?
It's kind of something that fell into my lap. I mean, before that, I had been doing like podcasts where I was, just for fun in the studio doing podcasts, playing up-and-coming bands, and I wrote a column with Spin talking about new music called Hop On Pop, and then when this opportunity came up, it just seems like kind of the coming together of a lot of different things that I've been interested in, and seemed like a fun thing. So it's been rad, and it continues to be rad.
If K-Rock came to you right now and they said, hey, we want you to do a morning drive show, we're talking about music, talking about life, whatever the hell you want, would you do it?
A morning talk show?
Yeah.
I would love to. There's just not enough hours in the day. I mean, between, Blink-182 obviously being my main focus in the world, and doing the TV show and trying to be somewhat of a good husband and maybe a dad to my son every now and then, there's just not enough hours to do everything. And so I've kind of had to pick it. That's why I'm not producing any bands right now. That's why I'm not working in Plus 44 stuff right now. It's really like I want to do Blink, and I want Blink to be great, and I want this TV show to be great, and that's all that I have the power to do.
Got your priorities in line. In this changing world, Mark, Blink has always seemed to stay connected with their fans. And even as you guys made the climb into being one of the biggest bands across the globe, you sort of understand that you keep that level of transparency. How does it make you feel when you see a band first get a glimmer of success and they forget about everyone that ever helped them to get to that point?
It really sucks. It's really disappointing and it seems especially like I feel like Blink hopefully remained as grounded as we have because we had to work so hard to get to where we're at. I mean, we started off touring in vans and calling up clubs and begging to get a show and sleeping on people's floors and getting paid. I mean, literally, we were touring and we would get paid after a show and we would have to go, okay, it's going to cost us $40 in gas to get to the next city. If we each go to Taco Bell and get one burrito, I mean, that's how we used to tour.
Oh, my God.
So as our success gained and we felt more and more fortunate, it's like, thank God for all these people that support our band and come to the shows and buy the records and everything else, because that's how we get to do what we do. It seems like with the people that get a lot of success really quickly, that they have a lot more, they feel like it's, betrothed to them, that they're
right.
Like, oh, well, I'm awesome. Obviously, I'm awesome. Look how fast I got famous. And then they're the ones, in my mind, that have a difficult time adjusting to that kind of success, and then they forget, like, man, all these people that come to your shows are the reason that you're there. Don't treat them like this.
Wow.
Now, Chris and I we're pretty young. We're both 23. you were talking about what the struggle was like, and that's interesting to me and him because we're obviously trying to be successful in what we're doing. What advice would you give to us and other people like us who are trying to be successful in a business that's not really easy to be successful in?
Yeah, it's difficult right now. I speak frequently with other bands and managers and labels and things like this, and I don't know how new bands start today. On one hand, they have so much more available to them. Like when Blink started, there wasn't the internet, there wasn't MP3s,
right.
There weren't all these different outlets. So now there's a lot of ways for bands to get their music out to people, but it really, like, you have to separate the good music from the noise, and it's a lot more work that way. So I think it's, if not more difficult, and also, speaking industry buzzwords, it's a shrinking marketplace because there's illegal downloading and there's file sharing and all this other stuff. And, for bands trying to make money, I mean, really all they can do is tour and sell T-shirts and write great music, and then hopefully they rise above. I don't know. It's hard out there.
So basically, you're SOL if you're trying to make it these days.
I'm just saying it's more difficult now, despite. It's probably, in my mind, it's probably more difficult now despite all the different avenues that are available to new bands. You
guys relentlessly, when you're out, you're just relentlessly touring. But there's got to be like one or two epic parties with other bands backstage or, on the road, on the tour bus that you remember. Can you name one right now? Because our fans love you guys, so they'd love to hear that inside access.
We're really not the party band. I mean, we're really the band that goes back to their buses and hangs out. I mean, we've had a lot of fun out on the road before. I can't think of any great parties right now.
Any good bands that you guys like hanging out with, you love to see anytime you guys go out on tour, like a festival or anything like that?
It was a lot of fun touring with Green Day. Those guys are really cool. It was great touring with No Doubt. I mean, we've been very blessed that we've got to tour with really cool bands. There's been no bands that we've taken out on tour or gone on tour with that I've left the tour going like, man, those dudes were jerks. But I think that's because we try and associate ourselves with people that we like to hang out with, and we don't like to hang out with people that aren't rad,
Right, definitely. Mark Hoppus on the line. When you had to play the next day after DJ AM's passing in Connecticut, did you find it to be a cathartic experience, or was it more, why are we doing this, just sort of going through the motions?
It was a combination of everything, and it was one of the most amazing shows that I feel like we've ever played because it was such a catharsis, but it was such a hard time, and we were in the middle of tour, and we got this awful news about AM, and, it was really hard. It was really a difficult time, but to get up on stage, and, I mean, we didn't want to cancel the show, obviously, because so many people had bought tickets, and we don't like to cancel shows at all.
Of course not.
But to get up on stage was very difficult, and then, I mean, for me personally, like, I broke down on stage, and, everybody was cheering for AM, and it was just such an emotional experience that I think it was good for us in a way to get up and be able to. It's weird because literally you're suffering in front of 15,000 people, and you're going through a very difficult time, but somehow, for me at least, it was very cathartic to get to share that moment with everybody out there, and there was a really, really moving portion of the show where everybody was cheering for AM and his memory, and I don't know, I felt much better after that.
Unreal. That's an incredible experience. To have to endure as a band. I'm glad you guys came out on top. When it came to the self-titled album, it seems as though you guys went out of your way to show you had matured stylistically. Did you set out to do that, or was it more of a natural progression?
I think it was more natural progression. I don't think that we ever know what we're going for on anything that we write. And things change so much. I mean, there's a song on the last record called Stockholm Syndrome, which I originally wrote as a slow ballad on this acoustic guitar. And, when I brought it to Tom and Travis, they had their ideas, and it changed to this really, like, powerful, rock, heavy thing. And I think that all the songs kind of come out like that. I think that when Tom has an idea and brings it to me, and then Travis puts his hands on it, no matter what we start off with, it's going to change and become better through each other working on it. And I don't know what we're going for on this record.
Right.
We're just trying to write the best songs that we can. And I think if we go into it with a mindset of, we're going to make this kind of record, then you're really tailoring everything to get to a certain spot instead of just going, let's make this awesome, and whatever awesome is, we're going to find at the end of the road.
You don't want to force it.
Yeah.
Now, this radio station is in Fairfax, Virginia, which is a suburb of D.C. I read that you were you went to Annandale High School in 10th grade.
I did.
You were an Annandale Atom, I believe.
Yes, Annandale Adams.
So give us your take on Northern Virginia. What did you think of the experience? How awful is it?
So
I had
stupid.
a great time out there.
Really?
Well, here's my deal. Is I came from living in the middle of the California desert. I mean, literally 16,000 people in a town where I grew up in, 2 hours from anywhere. And then I get to go to Washington, D.C. I mean, you know, it's a suburb of D.C., so it's not like you're right in the city or anything.
Right.
But to have that kind of access to... I got to go to my first concert when I lived in Washington, D.C. I got my first bass when I lived in Washington, D.C.
Where was your first concert? Where'd you
My
go?
first concert was at the old 930 Club, and it was They Might Be Giants.
That's
Oh,
so
wow.
great. That is so awesome. Did they tour with you guys at some point? I think I remember something about that.
No, They Might Be Giants never toured with us, but Blink has come back and played the new 930 Club. Plus 44 has played it. It's an awesome club, and I mean, for me personally, it has a lot of memories associated with it.
Same here. That's unreal. I'm going to be there this weekend, actually.
Right.
We like to play a little myth or fact on the CNO show, Mark. Is it true the drummer you guys had on Dude Ranch quit because he thought because the band wasn't going anywhere?
That's false.
False. Not a fact at all. What happened then?
It was falling out. It was he had some stuff that he was going through that he needed to work out, and we just a falling apart. Not to get into it too much.
Okay, fair enough.
I also read that while you were in college, you dropped out because you wanted to pursue your music career. Your mom was supportive. Your dad was supportive as well, but he wanted you to stick around in college and have a backup plan. Do you ever go back home and give Pops a hard time? Like, you wrong call, Pops. I was
not
right.
at all. Because as a father now, I would give my son the same advice.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, look, hey, you want to go be in a band? Go be in a band. Just make sure that if it doesn't happen, I mean, it's like being a parent of somebody that wants to be a professional athlete. You're like, man, you're really good at this, but not everybody gets to be a professional athlete. You
Right.
want to be able to, if you don't get into the majors, you want to be able to support a family.
Mark, just a few more, and I appreciate you wasting your time with us. I always said when I was about 17 years old, waiting hours and hours just to get tickets to your shows, I remember saying, if I ever got a chance to talk to these guys, I wouldn't waste a second of it, and that's what I'm trying to do right now.
Awesome, no worries.
When you guys go on hiatus, people sort of scream bloody murder because they think, it's just a polite way of saying you're broken up.
True.
When you want to take a break and just do something else creatively, perhaps spend time with your family or maybe start a new band, is it frustrating to constantly have to explain yourself?
No.
Okay.
You know what? It really wasn't, because I was going through the same thing. I was, people asking, what's up with Blink? What's up with Blink? And as much as, and I always knew this, as much as like when Travis and I are doing Plus 44, or even when I'm promoting, Hoppus On Music, Friday nights at 11 on Fuse, I will always be Mark Hoppus from Blink-182 for the rest of my life, and I love that. I don't want to remove myself from that. And anytime I do an interview, I assume that people are going to talk about Blink-182, and that's flattering. I mean, we worked really hard in Blink to get to where we're at. And so for people to still talk about it, I mean, now obviously we're back, and I want people to talk about it. But even during when Blink wasn't together, of course I want to talk about Blink. I worked my ass off for this band. I love this band.
That's great.
This is a big deal for me talking to you because in 7th grade, there was this girl, her name was Natalia.
Mm-hmm.
She rode my bus, and I had the hugest crush on her, and she would wear a Blink-182 shirt every other day.
Nice.
She was obsessed with you guys. She wanted absolutely nothing to do with me, and I was in love with her. So after we do this interview, I'm going to post it on our Facebook wall and say, ha ha, look what happened. Do you ever, when you first made it.
Hey, you carry a grudge, right?
Yeah, well, she broke my heart, and I'll never forgive her for it.
That's been a rough 7th grade, man.
When you first made it, did you ever go back home and, what was that feeling like, being able to, show those guys that you were right, you actually could make it and you could be successful?
Well, nobody ever really said that I couldn't make it. I mean, luckily I've been surrounded by people that were always very supportive, and I never felt like, there was one teacher when I was in junior high that said I would, just a typical story of like, you'll never amount to anything. And I was like, well, whatever. But, my success isn't anybody else's failure, and vice versa, I go back home and I see my dad and I see people from my hometown, and they're always really supportive and happy for me, and it's a good energy.
Mark, I want to thank you so much for your time. I know we went way over with you, but honestly, it was from one fan of the band to the artist himself. It was a tremendous pleasure and an honor. You guys do appreciate your fans so much. You're talking to one of the biggest ones right now. blossoming young radio talent. That's not true.
Very much.
A retweet of this interview would not only be inspirational, but an honor to me. Will you retweet the interview? I don't want to force you into anything. You can say no or just hang up the phone if it's easier to do that.
It's not going to happen. No, I totally will. I absolutely will. Send it to me and I'll retweet it for sure.
Mark Hoppus, I love you.
Thanks,
Honestly,
man.
I'm going to go cry in the bathroom right now.
Thank you so much for your time. This has been fun.
I can't wait to show Natalia the retweet.
Hoppus On Music is the show. It airs on the Fuse Network. Seriously, check it out. The guy has got a tremendous gift, and he's carried it onto the television broadcasting airwaves. Mark Hoppus on Twitter. Thank you so much, Mark. I appreciate it.
Thanks, man.
Appreciate it.
Take care, man.
Bye.